Friends, as the church, as the world, as a people, we are in a place of new beginnings. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to create some space to flesh out these new beginnings, to breathe life into them. And our hope is to create space so we not only explore these new beginnings, but unleash the spirit of creativity, while also recognizing, grieving, lamenting what is ending. Because as we know, in the end is the beginning. The Bible begins with two stories about creation, two stories about new beginnings. And that is an echo of our lived experience. We know that life just doesn't begin. Life is filled with new beginning after new beginning after new beginning. So, an appropriate starting place for this series seems to be the story of the beginning. Those stories from Genesis, which were just read to us. And we want to pay particular attention to the way that God is described in those first few lines of the creation story. Specifically, the way that God was described in the beginning. So what I want to share with you are lessons taken from Wilda Gaffney's book, Womanist Midrash. And in this book, she reminds us that two beginnings, that in the beginning, two things were happening. In the beginning, God created, and in the beginning, the Spirit, she hovered, and she pulsed, and she trembled. In the beginning, God created, in the Spirit, she brooded. These are the slow and steady actions of divine energy, the slow and steady movements of creativity. And what Wilda Gaffney invites us to notice is that in the original text, this divine energy is described as both masculine and feminine. With the passage of time and the making of translations and the emergence of traditions, this divine energy, this creative and creating God, became exclusively male. But if we were to accurately gender God's spirit, if we were to go back to the beginning, to the way that story was written, if we were to describe God as God was originally found, we would need feminine pronouns. As God created, the goddess, she hovered. Oh, yikes. That has an uncomfortable sound, doesn't it? That's because we've been conditioned by generations of translations which have avoided feminine pronouns. Instead of saying she or her, the word of choice was spirit. And here's the thing that Wilda Gaffney points out. Even when she is not named, she is still present. She is still there. She, the Spirit of God, who is of God, was fluttering, brooding, hovering over the nest of holy creation. The two in one, the masculine and feminine, are the first articulations of God. The feminine and the masculine are there together. And so it is no wonder that when the first humans were created, made from the richness of the dark brown earth, they are both male and female. And the pattern continues. Feminine language is used repeatedly throughout the entire Bible. And so when we lift up this kind of teaching, when we explore this part of the story, we're not changing the story. We're actually restoring the story. In a way, we're becoming biblical literist. Go figure. We are also engaging in that practice of Sankofa, looking back, finding what's of value in this story, finding what's of value in our history. What do we want to bring forward? What do we want to leave behind us? That's Sankofa. Friends, we are at a place of new beginnings. We are in a place where we have never been before. This is our opportunity to engage the spirit of creativity, for that is the divine image with which we have been created. This is the day of new beginnings. Amen. Ashe.